Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to watch 90 Day Fiancé, The Single Life. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, don't use YouTube as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You really deserve it. And let's watch.
Want or expect, for us to sleep together? Because how is it going to be? Am I ready for this? I don't know. We just met. It's nerve-wracking. All right.
Actually, that's a very differentiated thing to say for Jesse. To say, I just met her in person for the first time. Seems like there's some pressure in the air for us to be together physically. And I'm kind of scared because I don't know how things are going to go. And I don't really know this person that well. And the other thing to think about that they never say, but I'm sure they think about, is the world is watching. And if things aren't up to snuff and she has an interview later on and says that I'm terrible in bed, that would be embarrassing. So just imagine that pressure. But anyway, so, that's good. We don't usually have a lot of nice things to say about Jesse, but I think we can say that, because he could have said something else if he was trying to seem like a perfect human being. He could have said something like, yeah, I'm just taking it slow because that's how I like to do it, and you can't pressure me, whatever. But he's just like, hey, let's rewind that.
To get to the hotel room, but I do not want or expect, for us to sleep together, because how is it going to be? Am I ready for this? I don't know. We just met. It's nerve-wracking.
Right, and that other part of it, am I ready for this? That, of course, the toxic masculine idea that people of all genders will perpetrate, depending on their level of awareness, is that men are supposed to be up for sex at all time. They're supposed to never say no. They're supposed to constantly want it, constantly thinking about it, always trying to get with other people, regardless of whether or not they're in a committed relationship or not. And that's just how men are, and that's the ideal. And if you're not that way, then you are, a pussy, and you're a woman, and you're not a real man. So he's saying, look, I don't even know if I'm ready for this, which of course makes sense. Now, she seems like she's ready to go, which is also okay. If she's like, look, I'm ready to make this happen, that's also okay.
Wow, nice. Wow. Bueno, very nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Oh my God, a bathtub.
Yeah, we
Yes. Wow, I'm really positively surprised about this.
do. Yeah.
I will say that it's a lot of him being positive. I'm not showing all of it, and it happened last episode as well, that it's like, oh, this is so great. Everything is so, look at this. This is bueno. This is beautiful. And I'm like, it's a hotel. it's a jacuzzi bathtub. You can be like, yeah, but you can't be like, oh my God. I'm sure he's seen it before. I'm sure he's seen hotel rooms and jacuzzi bathtubs before. But, maybe he's just that way. And he was kind of that way when he landed in the States with Darcy. I remember he was, they were coming back from the airport, and he was like, oh, it's America, because I don't think he'd ever been. And they were going to New York, and he's like, New York City. And it's like, oh, look at that. Is that a mall? And he was he was like a kid in a candy shop. And I guess when I put those two data points together, and I think he travels a lot as well, he might just be one of those wanderlust people that just loves to experience new towns and new places. And so maybe that's it. The other thing I was thinking is that he's incredibly uncomfortable, and he's trying to, he has one way of making people, trying to make people feel comfortable, which is just to be very, obvious with his positivity. She seems like she's not into it. And I will say that, from her perspective, it's like she wanted him to kiss her right away. He doesn't know if he's ready. He also is trying to respect her, but I don't think she wants to be respected in that way. He doesn't know that, though. The other thing is they just met in person a half an hour ago. So the fact that they haven't made out yet, I don't know if she should be that upset, but she seems to be getting upset about it. So let's see how they manage it.
Make sure that we have a nice first date, right?
Yeah. I'd love to. Obviously, he was super attractive. But he needs to prove that he isn't meant to take things to the next level physically. If Jesse and I can connect sexually, it won't be a relationship.
So you've heard me talk about this before. I won't go into detail, but that second part was fine. It's like, unless this works out sexually and passionately, this isn't going to work. That's totally fine. I think a lot of people are that way, including her. But that first part that we're saying is like, if he doesn't hit on me physically right away, he's not a man. And that is just not okay. You can't say men are this, women are that. It'd be the same thing as if a man said to, like if Jesse said about her, we'll see if she can cook well. Let's see if she can, be subservient well. Let's see if she can, if she knows her way around the kitchen, because, we'll see if she's a real woman. Like, we understand that that's not okay. You can't do that to men either. It's too much of a pigeonholing. And as I've said in other videos, when you do that to men, you don't just get him being passionate with her in a way that she wants him to be. When you force men to be aggressive in all situations, because anything aside from that is to not be a man, then you get crime, and you get sexual assaults, and you get misogyny, and you get sexism, and you get men not listening to women, and you get all the pain that everyone's going through. Like, we can't have that discourse around forcing men into tiny little boxes. There's so much destruction. Now, you can, Jennifer, say, of all the men who are all men, anyone who identifies as a man, they're all men. Of all of them, I want this kind of man. That's okay. You can be like, I want this kind of man. If they're not this kind of man, they're still men, if that's how they identify. But I want this. I am adamant. I want this kind of men, 100%. I want the aggressive, passionate, courageous, sexual man. Great. But there are other men who are also men. They're just as much of a man, and they have other personality traits. It's okay.
Oh, wow. Amor, look at you. Wow. Baby.
The other thing I'll say is that when it comes to narcissism, there's a lot of misinformation, if not maybe literally everything that's said. When I did a whole deep dive on narcissistic personality disorder a couple years ago, I did a pretty extensive survey of everything on the internet that had to do with narcissism, everything, articles and videos. I only found one thing on the internet out of thousands of things that had an accurate representation of narcissistic personality disorder, which is different than narcissism. Narcissism is an adjective for a human being. You can say that person is narcissistic, meaning they're arrogant or stuck on themselves or self-centered or something. They're inconsiderate to other people's feelings. You can say that, like for someone to say that person is a jerk face or that person is self-centered, that's not a diagnosis. You're not throwing around a clinical term. You're just offering an opinion about someone else. To say someone has narcissistic personality disorder, now we're getting into a very specific thing that involves narcissism and arrogance, but it's very particular, okay? And it's hard to understand. And for clinicians, research shows that half, if not more, of clinicians also do not know how to accurately diagnose narcissistic personality disorder. So just think about that lay people have no idea or very little idea. I mean, there are some lay people that get it because they've studied the good literature, the sound literature. But even clinicians, studies show that 50% of them cannot accurately identify narcissistic personality disorders. Personality disorders in general are extremely difficult to understand. And if you just read the criteria in the DSM or what's online about the DSM, I guarantee you still do not know how to diagnose it. when I teach students about personality disorders, we start with the criteria, it'll be in the beginning, but it takes me years to train people on how to assess it. Anyway, what I'll say is that people with narcissistic personality disorder will, not everyone with NPD will do this, but with some, a part of so at the baseline of narcissistic personality disorder is massive emptiness and worthlessness. Just massive worthlessness. Usually what happens is when you're young, 0 to 5, you are neglected emotionally. You're treated like a toy child. You're not really loved. You're not really attuned to. You might not be abused. You might be abused, but you might not be abused. You might just have really distant parents or even ill parents. Parents who go into the hospital for a couple years and are really sick, can't attune to their child. And the child needs a lot of attunement from 0 to 5, 0 to 3 especially. So there are various different roads, but what happens is there's this massive message being told to the child that they don't matter. And for some of those kids that are experiencing that and are concluding that they don't matter, they will defensively say, I'm the most important person in the world. And you can imagine a 3-year-old saying that, right? Because they're suffering. I'm the best at everything. I am the most important person on the planet. And it's a reaction, a defense to feeling as though they're worthless, right? And you might even see kids do this even when you're treating them well, even when, they might have ups and downs regarding their self-esteem. And when they're having a down, they might asserting themselves to their siblings or their friends, like, I'm the best. And you're just like, oh, they're just having a moment. But imagine if that becomes just ingrained in your personality constantly. I'm the best. I'm amazing. Everything I do is better than everyone else. It's a reaction to worthlessness. And then you grow up and you annoy everyone around you with this behavior because it pushes people away. It's distancing. It's superior. You make other people feel inferior. And one of the things that some people with narcissistic personality disorder will do to uphold this idea that they are awesome and perfect and wonderful is they will talk about things that they're involved in as wonderful. This is the best party in the world. This TV show that I'm cast on is the best TV show. This country that I live in is the best country in the world. This woman by my side who loves me, she is the most beautiful, best thing on the planet. The TV shows that I like, they are the best TV. The restaurant I go to is the best cook. And some of you might know narcissistic personality disorder people like this, that it seems like everything they do is the best. Everyone they know is amazing. Everything that they've ever seen, they'll be like, I went to Amsterdam. Have you been to Amsterdam? You're like, no, I've never been to. They're like, Amsterdam is the best. By proxy, they're saying, I am associated with this thing that is the best. Therefore, I am the best. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Wow, I'm like, this is beautiful.
You look like a star. Wow. Beautiful,
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Well,
Let's go.
so let's go, Amor. And
Let's go.
yeah. A few hours ago, we only knew each other online.
The other thing I'll say from the beginning, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, that although he is a handsome, suave, semi-suave guy, he's, in my perception, awkward. That he doesn't like, especially in the Bears All. I don't know if I've posted. I think I did with Darcy. He's on a video conference with Darcy and Florian and Stacy, and he just has an awkward way about him. Like it particularly came up in that Bears All episode when there was joking going on between Tom and Jesse. Tom and Jesse were talking, and Tom, although a little dorky, I think Tom isn't as awkward, has more of a social repertoire than Jesse does. And I think for Jesse, I think if he wasn't as good looking as he is, I think he would be seen more as a nerd, as someone who has a hard time kind of fluidly joking around with people or socializing with people. And as I say that, I wonder if he might know that about himself, and maybe why he is so effusive. Oh, this is the best, because he doesn't know what else to say. I don't know. I mean, you'd let me know. Does he seem like he's socially awkward, meaning that he doesn't have a repertoire, he's not relaxed, he doesn't know what to say, and so he has these kinds of things that he says, and it's also kind of the way he says them that seems like he's saying, this is what you're supposed to say now. You're supposed to do this now, and I'm going to do it, instead of the way I'll say non-awkward people operate, which is more just, they're just reacting spontaneously. He doesn't seem to be spontaneous. He doesn't seem to be genuine. He seems to be like, he's being nice, but he doesn't seem genuine and authentic and real. Not because I think he's fake, but because I think he doesn't know what else to do, because he doesn't have the social repertoire. But I don't know, you let me know.
Now we are next to each other. I just want to make sure that before I dive into something sexual or kissing or anything, I don't want to make sure, who is this? I want to get to know her.
Yeah. So on one hand, absolutely more in line with, I think it's fine if Jennifer's like, I don't need to know this guy. He's hot. Let's go for it. That's also okay. But it's also okay that he was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to get together with her until I get to know her. And he seems optimistic, I'm optimistic that if I get to know her better, that, passion will follow. And so there's that. Is it one or both of, even though I'm attracted to her and I want to get with her, I would rather get to know her first as well. Or I can't get together with people unless I know them emotionally, which, people of all genders can be like. On the other hand, is he doing that as a performance, that he's trying to perform a version of men dating that has a lot of honor, so on that side, because he's saying words, it's just like, I want to respect her. I don't think she wants to be respected that way, but I don't know if she's communicated that to him. But I wonder if he's performing a certain version of just like, I'm trying to make up for the fact that everyone hated me. I'm sure he knows that everyone hates him from the Darcy days. And maybe he's like, I want to come across like I'm an honorable, respectable person, and I need to make sure that I walk this very narrow line, which is to be the perfect man, which is to have class and to go slow and to have respect for women and not to be, assuming things about women or something. I don't know. Or is he trying to have a real clean, what's the word I want to call? Is he trying to portray through image management a real clean sort of Disney version of love? I don't know. I'm not saying it right. Let's continue watching.
We wanted a Merlot red wine. I don't know what this is.
Queremos un vino tinto.
Vino tinto no tenemos por el momento.
You have no red wine?
No.
Okay. Also, this steak is like raw. And some vegetables, please.
Sí, señor.
All right.
Okay, so on one hand, you would say, oh, Jesse is being arrogant, he's being controlling, he's being critical, things aren't up to his standards, and he's talking down to people. On the other hand, he ordered a Merlot, and he got, I don't even know what he got. It didn't even look like rosé. It didn't look like wine. It had a color to it that, I don't know what it was. And so he's like, we ordered a Merlot, at the very least red wine, and I don't even know what this is. And the waiter says, oh, we don't have Merlot. Well, why didn't you say something? You don't just be like, well, they ordered a Merlot. Hey, we don't have it. We'll just give them this other thing. Like, you don't do that. You come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, we're out of Merlot. Would this be okay? And they don't have any red wine. which, I don't even know what to say about that. But anyway, so, but at the very least, you don't just throw something at someone. The other thing is that, now he says his steak was really raw, and I did see it, and it did look fairly raw in the middle. But rare steak is supposedly the best, and I think a lot of places will serve it, if it's a good cut, they'll serve it rare or medium rare. And he didn't like that, so it's kind of on him if he's ordering a steak. And I don't know what it's like in his neck of the woods, but if you're not into medium rare, you should speak up. By the way, I want it cooked all the way through. I don't want any red. You got to be explicit with. So, yeah, that's my reaction to that.
This is a one wild restaurant.
Yeah. And then some random barking dog comes wandering through off leash. Yeah. I mean, everything else, I think, the steak mix up, I could see that happening if he didn't state up front. Some places have a lot of wandering dogs, and sometimes I like that. A good dog visit at your table can be kind of nice, as long as they're not jumping up on you. And but the Merlot thing, like you order Merlot and they're just like, we don't even have any red wine, so we're just going to give them this other thing. Like, come on.
My steak, I don't care. And the crazy thing, Jennifer, is that I feel I know you so well. Really, that was the first time seeing each other. But for some reason, it just feels so natural.
What do you think is that?
Synergy. I think it's just meant to be.
Do you know what I mean? There's a certain, I don't know, maybe it's just how he is, but there's this kind of, like, he planned that's what he would say. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that. People get nervous and they're like, what am I going to say? So, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to know what he was like in all circumstances and what was really going on in his head. Or if I'm just reading him wrong, let me know in the comments.
Like seated?
You don't have to kiss right away. You don't have to make love the first night. I had that phase in my life. Let me get to know you for who you are, and let not lust be our guide.
Okay, so we're seeing more of this difference. For him, he's saying, yeah, I've done that before. I don't like to do that anymore, which is totally fine. And she's like, I don't even think they've kissed yet, which is also fine, but she wants a lot of energy. I think, because that's what she wants, but also because she's coming on the heels of Tim, where they never had sex. So I think she's like, wants to feel like, wait, is this going to be like, I think that's a big litmus test for her, is like, is this going to be like Tim again? All right, well, that is for that episode. If you haven't become a patron of the podcast yet, you can do so now by clicking the link below. When people become a patron of the podcast, they are really supporting what we're doing here. I mean, we, as this, me and my wife, depend on people becoming patrons. We really do. In order for us to spend all of this time, we have to not do our work at, regular jobs. And so when y'all become patrons, it actually literally pays our bills. So thank you so much who already have become patrons. Also, if you are a patron and you want to become an upper tier patron or an annual patron, that's also good. And you get a discount with an annual patron. And if you're not a patron and you're on the fence, you can go to patreon.com, or the link below. But if not, totally up to you. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.